Welcome. What?
We could have left it.
That's right. Welcome back to another Cross Mentality podcast, episode 23.
23.
Yes, we did the whole intro on episode 22 again. For those of you who don't know, another Cross Mentality podcast is hosted by Angel, Chris, and Matthias, ACM, another Cross Mentality. All three of us are active law enforcement individuals, two of which are United States veterans. Appreciate you guys for your service. This podcast was started in the hopes to bring light and really normalize the conversations around mental health. At first, obviously, within males law enforcement veterans, and then it very quickly went to wives, mothers, fathers, kids, Joe Schmo, the salesman, literally everybody. I think we've had all walks of life on this podcast talking about mental health, things that they've dealt with. And it really goes to show that mental health and things like that are influenced everybody.
Jeffrey's getting ready.
Jeffrey's getting ready.
That's how you know. That's how you know she's about to get real.
So we're laughing. Today's guest, we're very excited for this, and you're hopefully going to hear a lot of laughter from this. And as we already are, we got Jeffrey with us. So we're just going to let Jeffrey introduce himself after he finished big old.
That's either Brugal or apple juice. Pick your poison.
So what's going on, fellas? Thanks for having me. We're going to have a good time today. You can't laugh at yourself. Don't worry, somebody else will, right?
True.
That's usually my intent. But no, it's not Brugal. Some of the issues I'm going to be talking about are racism. Because
it's boom
my
boom.
favorite rum does not come from Puerto Rico. It actually comes from Barbados.
What's it called? Is it boom boom?
I don't even want to tell you anymore. Because then you'll fucking buy them all. So, no, it's the Plantation 20.
Gotcha.
So, that's my boy. So, yeah, so my name is Jeffrey. I'm originally from Bronx, New York. I'm a traveling comic, but I'm a veteran. I'm currently serving in the Airforce. I've been in the military for a few years. And I got to be honest with you, man, between my life experiences and my military experiences, I just have lots of fucking anger. And a lot of that has to do with the anxiety that I've received while serving and even in my life. I was raised in New York mainly, but I moved from Aguadilla, Puerto Rico when I was about 10 years old. And I know you guys introduced me just as Jeffrey. And a lot of times I try to save that for a big joke because my last name is Irish. So being in Puerto Rico, you would take attendance in school. And in other places, not outside the United States, you have your father and your mother's last name. So my whole name was Jeffrey Antonio Ramos Strickland.
Strickland? Holy shit.
That's pretty good.
Oh, man, so like a sword.
Here I am living in Puerto Rico, and I used to get into a lot of fights because everyone thought I was white. Because my last name was Strickland.
Yeah.
I got that because my father never met his real father, who was Irish. And he met my grandmother in Puerto Rico, and he fled, had my father. Here we are. So, yeah, so I got in a lot of fights.
He went, he did his thing and pulled out. Literally.
As most of us have, right? But yeah, so
Here's that.
that's that.
I feel like we're getting a free show right now. I think this is the most we've laughed. It's been like 2 minutes. What a treat. We had Jerry, now we got Jeffrey.
Yeah, seriously.
JJ's. Right,
but I'll tell you, in Puerto Rico, I had some good stories because I feel like I became a man in Puerto Rico because you had the little work in the backyard. I'll tell you a funny story. Nobody speaks Spanish here, right?
Oh, we do.
Yeah, both of us do.
Nope.
Chris,
if I say something in Spanish, are you guys able to put subtitles or I have to explain it?
You gotta have to explain it.
Yeah.
But we haven't gotten that far.
We're rookies at this thing.
All right,
haven't
so
gotten
I'm gonna
that far
say this
in
in
editing.
Spanish, and then I'll rephrase it in English so you guys know. Like, I used to do a lot of work for my uncle in the back of his house, and I always said human beings are the worst communicators because English or Spanish, people don't understand what each other's saying. So I remember my uncle was in the backyard with me, and he goes, "Nene, búscame la bolsa de naranja y la bota." So I went to the backyard, and I got the bag of oranges like he asked for, and I threw them out.
Y la bota.
So when I came back home, he asked me, he goes, "Nene, y la china, y la bolsa de china, mi bota." I said, pero tío, tú me dijiste que coja la bolsa de naranja y la bota en la basura. No, yo te dije que búscame la bolsa de China y mi bota para mi pie. So for those of you who don't speak Spanish, he asked me to get the bag of oranges.
Naranjas means orange. Bota could
Right.
be throw out or boots.
Right. So those are the type of people I grew up because most of my relatives grew up telling me how to be a kid and be good and go to church. But all my relatives were fucking alcoholics.
I think we
Anytime
dabble a
they
little
gave me
bit in
good
that
advice, they were
conversation.
drunk.
We definitely dabbed on the alcohol, especially around the Spanish community. You know, we do start drinking a little bit sooner, like other countries too, but especially Spanish-speaking countries. And then the veteran background as well. Being in the military, we use alcohol as a very well-known coping mechanism, right?
Yeah.
So you start to combine these things, and you're like, "Damn, well, what the hell am I doing here?"
I obviously don't drink, right? So I mean, like I had a great grandfather that he was alive when I was a young kid, and I was just telling this story to somebody that we used to go to church, and he used to take off his hat and he would sit there and pray. And as soon as other people started walking in, he would put his hat back on in church. And I go, why'd you do that? Because God and the angels are here, but the people come in and bring all the devils. And that was his theory behind all of that. Like people are demons. And we're talking about my great grandfather who went in there with a good buzz going.
I guess that would explain the theory.
I can understand his theory for sure. But Jesse, look, one of the biggest things that we do is we try to shed some light on the reasons why we are who we are, and a lot of that does fall on the plate of mental health. All right, and you talked a little bit about your childhood, and you're transitioning to stories of family, right? Like your grandfather and how that helped you to become who you are. Tell us a little bit about why you joined the military.
So, came out of high school, and I was in that rare phase of people that didn't have enough money to afford college, and I wasn't allotted the amount of money to get tuition assistance from the state. So I really did it to go to college.
Okay, fair enough. And did you get a chance to go to college?
I did. I actually went to college. I attended Lehman College. And when I joined the military, I did it before I was 18 years old. And once I joined the military, did all the college assistant stuff, I ended up getting a scholarship to play baseball for Lehman College.
Nice, for sure.
So basically, you didn't have to join the military.
Basically, I didn't have to join the military. However, I will tell you this. In the New York Air National Guard, you have this opportunity to do the 1 week in a month.
Yeah.
But I came out of boot camp, went to school, and I was offered a temporary AGR position because I joined in 2001 in July, and then 9/11 happened in September, right?
Gotcha.
And all these augmentation positions were being offered. So I went out there. So it's funny because I would go back to my old neighborhood, and you'll see the guys that would hang out in front of the buildings when I was like 18 years old. Here I am back 21 years old. Those same guys were still there.
Yeah.
And you look at them and go, hey, what's going on? What are you up to?
Same old shit. Same old shit. Jeffrey, I just have a question for you. I have a question for you because you mentioned you got offered a temporary AGR. And for those people that don't know what a AGR is, can you explain what an AGR is?
Obviously, so when you're in the reserves or the guard, AGR stands for Active Guard Reserve. So you have your individuals who are on orders, even though they're reservists, they're getting the active duty benefits and they're serving active duty missions while on these orders. So I was allotted that, which is a great opportunity.
Yes,
because nobody at my age, 18 and 19 years old, were really doing that.
Yeah.
So the first couple of things that you do in the military are what? Talk about a little bit about your first couple of years in the military.
So I became a personnelist, which is admin.
Yeah.
Right? Human resource for the military, for the Air Force. But when I first joined, there were people going to Iraq and Afghanistan during that 9/11 time. It was Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to do TAC-P as an augmentee, as a personnelist, and keep my skill set and not have to retrain. So that was always cool because I got to go to Washington State for a guy from Puerto Rico who hated the snow, and I had to train in a career field that I didn't want to be in. And if you know anything about survival training, they beat you up, especially back then. I heard they're a lot softer now, but they literally kidnapped you during my day.
Yeah, it sounds like a little bit of a voluntold mission.
You know what? Back to what I said before. I went back to my block, and the same guys that were there when I was 19 doing shit were in front of the building when I was 26 not doing shit either.
No, it happens, man. It's part of life. You always go back.
I remember I went back to my block, and the same guy actually offered me an opportunity. He said, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a couple years. What are you doing tonight?" And I was ready to shoo him off and go, "Nothing, I'm going home." And he said, "Well, we're having a welcome home from jail surprise party for my brother. If you're not doing anything, you're more than welcome."
You're wondering what the hell did he do?
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, we're just gonna do a welcome home surprise party for a convict.
So one of the things that we all have in common, at least in the conversation, and a lot of the guests that we bring in, is some of the things that we go through in our lives, right? I think we're trying to normalize something that's been looked down upon, something that's been frowned upon, especially in the military and law enforcement and the world of first responder. And a lot of those things are mental health issues, as they call them. I personally have learned so much in the last couple of years when we get into topics of anxiety, depression, PTSD. And it's crazy because we've tried to shed some light on it. And the more I talk to people, especially on our podcast, it doesn't matter if they're civilian. It doesn't matter if they're a cop. It doesn't matter if they're woman, man, child, born in Uruguay or Aguadilla. It doesn't really matter where you're at. Uruguay.
He just has to say it every episode. It's like saying social media for him. Uruguay.
I can't say Aguadilla. I got to say Aguadilla.
Or you can say Dominican Republic. We don't really care about Uruguay.
This is the shit I got to deal with.
So, it's so funny. When we talk about Dominican Republic, to me, I still call it Santo Domingo. Santo Domingo is Dominican Republic, no matter what.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I said it on my episode. Dominicans say, when you ask them where they're coming in the United States, they say they go to New York. You're like, what part of New York? Boston. Wait, what the fuck? What do you mean you're going to Boston? You going to New York or you going to Boston? Which means that the United States to Dominicans is New York. And then which part? Florida.
Let me just say something.
What?
I'm glad you brought that up. Yesterday was Dominican Republic Independence Day, right?
There we go.
So let me just say this. I was on board. I was going to say, happy Independence Day. But I am an old school fucking Yankee fan. So I saw somebody celebrating with David Ortiz and Pedro Ortiz in the background. Fuck you. I fucking can't stand them.
Because that was my hero growing up.
And you know what? I'm going to say it Pedro Martinez will never be forgiven for me. I don't care if an 80-year-old guy is running at me. I'm moving out of the way like Toro. How come if I can move out of the way from a fucking bull running at me, I could move out of the way of an 80-year-old coming at me?
Perfect sense.
Jeffrey got multiple issues with PTSD, if you can tell.
Let me explain something to you. I'm fucking angry. If this whole building was on fire, right? This whole building could be on fire. And I will be calm and collective and save everyone. Because that's just the nature of who I am. But the minute I find out I can't find the remote control for my fucking TV, I fucking lose it.
Oh yeah, it's. I don't know. I'm not. This is not coming from a therapist. Okay, I'm not. We're not mental health experts. So just go ahead and put that out there right now. At all. But I'm pretty sure we all react the same way. I just had a little breakdown with my dog. My fucking cats were vomiting before I came here. The dog pissed all over the floor. She's old. So now my golden retriever fucking pissed everywhere. It never ends. But listen.
Marking the territory.
Marking the territory. Look, this is what we do. We always get so off topic, right? I was asking you something and I said Uruguay and Aguadilla and then I was going to change the topic and we forgot the question, right? The question, or really the comment was, that we're talking about some pretty heavy topics, right? Anxiety, depression, and a lot of people are afraid of those topics, right? They're afraid of those topics because, myself being included, we didn't know anything about it. A lot of people always try to cover those things up. Oh, he's got PTSD. Oh, he's got anxiety. Oh, he's got depression. If you ask me, if you're going to do a job that we all choose to do every single day, military, police, first responder, shit, even a parent, becoming a new parent, I just had a son and I have a 10-year-old daughter. You become anxious of everything, right? If they're eating enough, if they're going to vomit, if they're going to choke on their food, are they sleeping? Are they going to roll over on their chest? It happens to everybody. So it seems to me the more education that we put on these topics, the better it feels to be heard and to be seen and to not feel like you're so alone, right? Because a lot of the things that we talk about in a lot of these discussions is how they make you feel, how you respond to that anxiety, how you respond to that feeling, right? Some people have stated they drink alcohol. Some people respond with maybe comedy. Some people respond with the gym. Some people respond with drugs. And they never knew that that was their coping mechanism until they figured out, hey, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. In your episode, I'd like to hear maybe how you got into comedy. Is that a way that you cope with some of your anxiety or PTSD from whatever came out of life? And what have you done about it, in the process?
So I started developing this thing where I get very angry at little things and I express them to people. And I notice as I'm telling these stories, people laugh. And I'm not angry at people laughing at my anger. It's funny. And somebody approached me and said, hey, would you ever consider being a stand-up comic? I'm like, what stories would I tell? And they said, all of them. Every single story. So the first story I told was me growing up in New York with a New Eurekan mother. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see any of that, but that's on my page.
Yeah, I watched that one.
Yeah, I watched it.
I even knew Eureka. Yeah. I was laughing because I knew it. Yeah.
So, I mean, my mother was your traditional New Eurekan mother where, kids, if they got beat up in school, they would go to their mother back in the day and say, hey, somebody hit me. And the mother would say, oh, my God, it's going to be all right. My mother would say, what the fuck you crying for? Go back and fuck them up. That was my mother. But my mother was overreacted as well because she wanted that great kid. So back to that set, I didn't think it was funny growing up, but everybody relates. So when my mother said, did you do your homework on Friday like I asked you to do? And I said no. I mean, it was dramatic to a point where it was like, it didn't go to, I didn't just do my homework on Friday. I was going to go to jail. I was going to be poor. I was going to be homeless. I wasn't going to live in the house anymore. Like, it turned into a dramatic thing.
Did you get hit with a slipper? With a sandal?
Chancleta.
Yeah, we say this every time I say it.
Chancla.
You know what's so funny? The scariest thing to see is a Puerto Rican mother hopping on one leg because she's taking the one chancleta off the other. That's fucking scary. So that's where that comes from, to answer your question. A lot of my misery comes from that, going through a divorce, and they tell you, like, when you marry somebody, you'll probably end up marrying your mother. And boy, were they fucking right, man.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
And I have a set where I'm talking about how I got out of a toxic relationship. And we want to blame, like, you know what? That relationship wasn't right for me because she was toxic. But that's my fault because I knew it during the time of the relationship.
Like, I'm sure you saw red flags and things that you could have been like, no, but you probably ignored it all. Like,
yeah, fuck it, let's just go for it.
Yeah, because there's nothing better than the sex of a toxic woman.
I mean, I'm
sure
you
heard my set.
Being a comedian, I'm sure that you already heard this a million times, but I heard this from one of my supervisors, and they say, you know why divorce is so expensive?
I don't.
Yeah,
because it's worth every fucking bit. And this was coming from like a 67-year-old. He was like, Matthias, you know what divorce is so expensive? I go, what's up, boss? He goes, it's worth every fucking penny. And I go, holy shit. you get into a relationship hoping for the best. And that's another thing that we've talked about. And I know I shared in the past, unfortunately being divorced as well. You don't go into a relationship, thinking, oh, this ain't going to work. You try everything, like every avenue to approach. You stay through the flags. You try to work at it and you keep at it again. You fuck up and they fuck up and you keep making it work, even though, like sometimes, hey, like you could do your very best. And I'm not saying it was a mistake from the get-go, but maybe you shouldn't have proceeded with marriage, because you got pregnant, or you shouldn't have proceeded with marriage if it was a toxic relationship from the get-go, And so unfortunately you stick around too long and then this lasted longer than it needed to. You could have cut that off 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago, but you chose not to. So this is unfortunately the outcome of the situation. So you do the best you can to, hopefully mend things, be as amicable as you can. If you have children involved, do everything for the children and you move on. I'm remarried. I love my wife. I love my son. I love the relationship that we have. Like the communication is easier. But yeah, you do essentially, as being a Hispanic man, I would say you're looking for your mom. My mom was always loving, caring, mijito, I love you, cariño, blah, blah, blah. You just want somebody like that. And when you don't get that, you're like, I don't know, this ain't really what I want,
I mean, we talk about my mother, but we never talked about having a Latino father. And that's what I talk about in one of my sets as well, because if you ever need a lawyer, don't ever hire someone who went to school for 8 years. Just hire a Puerto Rican father. The biggest fucking liars on this earth. You know how many times I heard this hurts me more than it hurts you? How the fuck is that possible?
Tough. It's tough. So now how would you say, like somebody asked you, have you ever thought about doing comedy? And you asked, what would I talk about? And they said everything, right? Where did you get comfortable getting in front of a bunch of strangers and talking about some of your problems that probably brought some of this grief and anxiety and everything else that followed?
Not. That's just the truth.
You just go up there and you stare at one person.
I go up there. There is a process. I think about what is bothering me. What can I reach in my back pocket and talk about my next set? And my comedy circle, the people I know, they call me a callback wizard, because if you watch any of my sets, all my sets have a callback. One of them is homework on Fridays, right? The other one is believe what you want. Because if you ever met anybody,
you see his dog in the background. Sorry, he's trying to looking at your dog trying to get a drink in behind you. So,
like I said, there's only room for 2 alcoholics. He's looking for a husky. He's out. So believe what you want. You ever met anybody that lied? One of the key things they do is they tell you the lie in a form of the truth and a question, and then they finish it with believe what you want.
You never think of it that way either. It's so true.
Yeah. So a lot of my callbacks are that. So to answer your question, yeah, like I have my process of thinking about what I'm going to talk about, what pisses me off at that moment. I'm going to fucking talk about it. Like I just did a set about how I can't stand positive people.
Damn, Maddie.
I'm fucked.
That's fine.
Because I go up on my set, and I remember I was talking, and the first thing I said was, I really don't like positive people. And I looked at the crowd. I said, do we have anybody positive here? And somebody said, yeah, I'm very positive, And I said, what do you tell somebody? Like, if I'm in the brink of suicide and I want to end it tomorrow, what are you going to tell me? And she said, tomorrow will be better. That's when I realized, like, I just want somebody real. Like, I want somebody to say, hey, man, I don't know what you're going through. I'm just going to keep it real. Like, you're going to go to jail for life. Someone's going to stab you while you're shitting on John. Fucking Diddy's going to sign you to his next label while you're in jail. Like, I just want the real shit.
Booty Cheeks record.
I can tell you this, the positivity thing. I don't know if I would have been like, tomorrow's going to be a better day. But I will tell you that you have, well, I was going to say 2, but Chris, you're out of this one. You have one of the biggest assholes you've ever met in your life right next to me. I'm assuming you're right, my left. The positivity, I think, stems from not wanting to feel so many of those negative thoughts, so many of those negative feelings, emotions. And obviously right now we're in a different setting than the comedy club. In the comedy club, this would be perfect topic to talk about. And I think the reason why you are so successful in those means is because people relate to you. You know, people can relate to the stories you're talking about, whether it's the suicide, whether it's the thoughts, whether it's the growing up with a Puerto Rican father, you know, and people can relate so they can laugh, you know, and this is no different, the podcast. We've had many people reach out to us and go, thank you. Thank you for fucking talking about this topic. Listen, genuinely, it's out there. I think this topic is really out there. You have to do your homework. You have to go on Spotify, on Google, on whatever, and look for specific things that are going to help you. You know, because I always said, oh, people don't talk about this. People don't do this. People don't do that. Dude, there is so much data, so much information out there in reference to anxiety, depression. And, you know, Angel talked about it in his podcast that it wasn't like that back in the day. I'm sure when you also enlisted into the Air Force, you couldn't talk about it being anxious. You couldn't talk about being depressed or having PTSD. You know, now it's a lot healthier to go, I'm dealing with anxiety. What does that feel like to you? All right, well, anxiety is causing me to have these fucked up thoughts that's not like me. You know, anxiety is causing me to feel these emotions that are overwhelming. Yeah, tell me about that. And you're like, well, I feel like my stomach hurts. I feel like I'm trembling on the inside. I feel like I'm not sleeping. I feel like I lost weight. And then you're like, oh, shit, all this stuff is in plain view on Google. You know, or if you talk to some of these guys, it's all there. You know, so for me, it's you're doing an incredible job in translating these emotions to where people can relate to them and not necessarily have to dwell them, which is why those positive people are like, if I say what I want to say right now, people are going to look at me crazy. And maybe that person, and assuming by the way you acted out that scene, it was a female who responded, I'm positive. Women, I think, are some of the best communication animals, creatures there are out there, you know, in every aspect. We've talked about going to Starbucks. And you go to Starbucks, there's no fucking men just going, hey, here's a fucking chai latte. How was your day today? How are the boys? They don't do that shit. We go to a bar. We go to a sports game. We talk over a podcast. You go into Starbucks. You go into a coffee shop. There's females. Oh, the fucking kid won't sleep last night. Oh, my tits are fucking leaking. I've been breastfeeding. You'll hear all this shit, right? They talk about their shit. We don't. We try to joke around.
Titty milk.
Your titty milk is not coming out. Your titty milk ain't coming out yet. But what you're doing, maybe you didn't even notice you were doing it. You are kind of helping people to understand what the fuck is going on, you know, with them. And maybe by sharing your experience and some of these feelings, you're really saving somebody out there. I just don't know if you really know that, you know, or if you accept that.
I think with being obviously in law enforcement, veterans, when somebody has a humor aspect to, you know, your anxiety, PTSD, just like what you just told us, it helps so much because it takes such a dark matter cloud that none of us want, brings it to light, makes us comfortable with it, but it makes it so, because when you can laugh at something, it really takes the whole demon aspect away from it. You know, and I feel even for like regular civilians, it does well, but I think especially for law enforcement and veterans, it is such a huge thing to have somebody be able to openly joke about mental health, about, even like you said, oh, you know, you're feeling suicidal the next day. What's your message? You're fucked. You're up. Oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah, but being able to joke, like openly joke with some people, that may be exactly what they need is, you know, somebody that just, hey man, I don't know exactly what you're going through, or maybe I do know some bits, but I'm going to poke fun a little bit, get you to laugh, get you to lighten up, because then you can go into an actual conversation. Then you can, or that person can go home and go, okay, somebody else is dealing with the same exact thing, and this is how they just dealt with it. Let me see if I can take that route. And I think what you do is amazing for that.
So I'm guessing that's why Matthias called me an asshole, because I guess I was the reality check kind of person, the person that's going to tell you that you're going to fucking die, you're going to go to jail. Like, so that's me. I'm the B side of the tape. If you remember when they had cassette tapes,
yep.
You know, I'm the B side of that. So I'm the person that's going to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to know. You get what I'm saying? Like, I know you may want to hear certain things, and I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you the real truth. Right. And what you do and the jokes, and Matthias has brought this up before with, let's say, Robin Williams and some comedians that they put their lives out there for people to laugh, right? But they're hurting inside. So again, you've kind of touched on these things little by little, whether speaking about your mom, speaking about your toxic ex, your dad being a liar and the best attorney you can have possibly out there. So is that the reason why you got into comedy? Is it to deal with your own demons, your own anxiety, your depression, your PTSD? And again, I understand that somebody told you that you could be a good comedian, but it took you to accept that, like, yeah, maybe I can do this. And why did you become a comedian? Like, was it to help people, like to help others in the form of laughter? You know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of the people that do comedy in the DC area and New York and everywhere I travel to, they tell a set of jokes. Sorry. Dude, really?
He's laughing at you. Tell him you haven't started the joke yet.
Douchebag. I didn't even get to the fucking punchline. So they tell a set of jokes. So it's joke after joke, punchline. But my goal is to tell a story and connect them. One of the things I'm talking about, and this is real. Again, feel free to laugh at my stories because that's the point of me being here. One of my sets, I talk about how, and I interpret it in a civilian world, but it is a military and it's a real story. I report to a full-bird colonel, and she's been racist towards me since I started being her subordinate. And I tell these stories, like, for example, and I'm going to go through the beginning of the set so that way you get the point. So I started noticing she was racist because during the Secret Santa during Christmas, she got me a bag of adobo and chancletas for Christmas.
Shit. Damn.
She doesn't even call me Jeffrey or Master Strickland.
I mean, that's pretty funny.
Puerto Rican guy.
He calls you the Puerto Rican guy.
Called me the Puerto Rican guy. Now,
in uniform.
In uniform.
Oh, wow. I would have had a fucking field day.
I mean, again, I'm protecting the story a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get to the point. So some is exaggerated. Some is the point of the verb. But there's a reason I tell this. She's a black woman. And I got to ask you guys, what is reverse racism? If you could give me a definition or even your opinion on what reverse racism is, what is it?
To be honest, I'll tell you, I don't believe in reverse racism. I just believe in racism. That's it. Okay. There's no reverse to it. Everybody can be racist. Mm-hmm. And there's no color or gender. I understand that people say reverse racism is something.
They call our last guest. Well, this is our friend Black Jerry.
Black Jerry.
I was listening to the podcast today. I go, that may or may not come off the wrong way. And of course, Jerry's
he's Black Jerry now.
This guy goes Black Jerry. I'm like, oh God. They don't know.
I asked that question because that's the same way I feel. Racism is racist.
Right. Yeah.
But everybody's always stuck on black versus white.
Yeah.
But what about the other part? People could be prejudiced against everybody.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'll be honest. Growing up, I grew up in a Puerto Rican household where if you see a taxi driver and he cuts you off, I had a relative that go, he's obviously Dominican. Right?
That is not where I thought you were going with this.
But anyway, back to the point.
I guess that was pre-2001. Let me stop.
90s. Come on.
Because that has changed tremendously.
There's going to have to be a censor on the fucking start of this one. You can't do this to Chris. Chris is going to shut the fuck up. Oh, God. Can you keep laughing and get this video?
Jeffy, I'm sorry that I stole your thunder.
No, you didn't. You gave me time to pour another content.
Oh, shit. We got fucking Chris over here losing his shit.
Chris may or not, he may or may not be crying.
So the joke is, well, not the joke.
Oh, you haven't told the joke yet?
Yeah, joke's not done yet. So some woman went into the break area and noticed, oh my God, my lunch, somebody ate it. And as soon as my boss heard that, the colonel, she said, you know, it was that Puerto Rican guy.
Yeah.
Because you know they do that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
These poor Puerto Ricans.
That's fucking nuts.
But she was right. But I called, you know what it is? It was my fault because I left adobo all over the counter and they hurt my chancletas.
Oh, shit, that was good.
My stomach hurts.
But she didn't have to fucking call me out like that.
The best part is, I'm pretty sure you get this all the time. The best part is keeping a straight face when you do it. No, she was right. Motherfucker looks like Mario Lopez. He's got the dimples popping out. He's all serious and shit. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
That's pretty good.
So back to what you were saying. Those conversations that people don't talk about, but they think.
Yeah.
Because we always hear about black comics, and it's okay for them to talk about the white audience that's in the stands. But who's talking about the black audience that's in the stands?
The white comics.
Are they?
Yeah. I've seen a bunch of skits.
I think the only person I've ever seen is like Matt Rife. I think Matt Rife has talked about like the black audience or whatever, but I haven't really seen too many comedians go that way because they're scared.
Andrew Schultz fucking spoke about.
Oh yeah, Schultz.
Black
we went to go see Schultz.
Like there's a few comedians that we follow that we've gone to see that there's not enough people doing it, so I understand where you're coming from, but there are some out there that do target certain audiences that people are not as comfortable touching because of the racism, conversation.
Right. Now, as much as my stomach does hurt, I do want to ask you, almost bringing it back to a little bit of a serious note on it, because we get people that have reached out on TikTok and Instagram, like facing exactly what you just said. I have a supervisor that's male and discriminates against me this way. I have a supervisor that's white who discriminates me against this way. I have a supervisor who's black who discriminates me this way. We've heard almost all of it. How do you go about dealing with that? Because it seems like you deal well with it. Obviously, turning into comedy on the outside, but that doesn't mean on the inside or while you're at work, you don't look at it in a different light. And you're like, well, fuck you. Why are you saying that? Or why am I the one you're looking at that to have these problems with? So how do you go about dealing with those?
Dude, I've been dealing with it my whole life. Moving from Puerto Rico to New York, not really speaking a lot of English. People didn't know what the fuck I was with a last name like Strickland, and I barely spoke English. Dude, I learned English watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit 1 million times in my life. That's how I learned English. So now the other part is when I go into an organization and the majority of people there are black, they think I'm white because of my last name.
Yeah.
So if there's discrimination, they discriminate me in the beginning. Then when they find out I'm heating up arroz con gandules in the microwave, all of a sudden I'm accepted.
Best of both worlds.
So, and it's like, no, dude, you already claim me as your enemy. That's it. You're fucking done with me. So, but I will, back to the serious note, when we talk about anxiety and PTSD and depression, one of my symptoms is to be very, defensive. Here's a funny story. I was performing at the Gotham Comedy Club. I have met Jim Gaffigan at least 4 or 5 times because he's always there when I'm there. So by this time, we know each other by name. He sees me, goes hi. I say hi to him, blah, 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 right? The last time I was there, he was on stage and he was doing his thing. And he started interacting with the crowd. And he asked the question, he goes, who are you guys even here to see? Because you knew I wasn't going to be here. And one of them said, I'm here to see Jeffrey. And he goes, really?
You're just like, fuck, dude.
Right. Out of all names you could call, because I'm the only one he knew in the green room. And actually, I say that, but Seinfeld was there, and so was George Wallace, and so was TJ Wallace, or not Wallace, TJ Miller, I'm sorry. And they say, we're here to see Jeffrey. We heard he's performing tonight. And I already automatically got, fuck. I don't want my name shouted out. I didn't even get called out to perform yet.
My name's Jeff.
Can I tell you, I fucking hate that. When I hear that, I get so angry.
My name's Jeff.
I want to punch my dog in the face.
Do it. Do it.
He's gonna break the camera.
Teddy's looking at you sideways over here, like.
So back to the serious note, right? He said, "Well, I'm going to teach you guys a lesson. You came to see Jeffrey. He's the guy back there wearing the green shirt or whatever I was wearing that night." And he goes, "Well, I'm going to take his slot." Now, he was obviously joking because he's a comedian, but that half a second of anxiety hit me because I'm like, fuck, I prepared for Gotham. He didn't. So he could do that. So that's what anxiety brings you, because you forget that the environment is fun and jokey and people may be there to collaborate with you, but you lose yourself in anxiety. Mm-hmm. And it fucking sucks.
What are some of the physical symptoms that you experience when you're dealing with anxiety?
My hands fucking shake, dude. My hands shake. My heart goes at 1,000,000 miles per hour. My mind starts thinking of the worst case scenarios. I will tell you, like, that is like the initial, as soon as you asked me, I could feel it. Like, I remember that night.
I have a question for you, actually. You mentioned PTSD at the beginning, right? And you said that your PTSD story was kind of like a pussy story. I actually want to hear it. So talk to me about it.
So it has to do with
because I'm going to laugh.
As you should. It's no story like I was at war and some guy
bombed my
car. Right. I didn't fucking get a little band in my eye. Nothing like that.
There I was in the office. The bombs were going off.
Right. My autocorrect didn't work while typing on my computer, right? No, my PTSD has to do with that commander I was talking about. What I was getting at earlier was I filled out a petition to do an EO complaint regarding psychological bullying.
Okay.
And it came back substantiated.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
So that commander got in trouble, I'm guessing.
I have no idea because I'm not privy to that.
Gotcha.
What I am privy to know is substantiation.
Okay.
I don't want to get too much into detail.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, throughout that time frame, I couldn't do anything right. Anytime I was called in her office, I was in trouble. I've never been written up in my career, only under her. I was written up once because she, at the time, I don't know if you remember a couple months ago, Tampa had a hurricane, right? My kids live in Tampa. I couldn't get a hold of her. She approached me and she asked, well, one, I stood up as a colonel and she said, no, sit. This is a wellness check. So I did. And she said, hey, I noticed you're not going to the family event that we have. Is there a reason why? And I said, ma'am, my kids are in Tampa. There's a hurricane supposed to hit. I can't get a hold of them. So I'm really concerned that for me to be around other people and their kids, it's a little difficult for me. The following week, I got called in her office. I got written up because she said when I was approached by her, I didn't stand up.
And this is after she told you to sit down.
This is a wellness check.
Yeah.
So, and the crazy thing is, in the write-up, it says, I approached you for a wellness check. So you just admitted that it was just
it was not official. It was not an official. Yeah, of course.
But the response that you get all the time when you go to IGs, if those of you who don't know IGs, they're supposed to protect you from like regulation violations. So the responses are always, she's the commander. She could do whatever she wants. So that's where that comes from. So now my PTSD comes from, I'm always wrong. My confidence is shot.
Yeah.
I don't have confidence in myself at all. I walk around this earth thinking I'm a garbage human being.
I mean,
I can tell you this. I've been in those shoes. I'm sure you two have been at some point. I can actually think of one story that happened to Angel in front of us that was like that, but it wasn't from a high-ranking supervisor or anything. It was just kind of like somebody who would be a coworker, essentially. But to be going through a divorce and to have this shit going on at work and to have issues with the person you loved once and kids being involved, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I think even for a comedian, somebody who may show, incredible strength in a diverse time frame, right? Like you're known for being this happy guy and people see you in the audience. And now as an adult and now somebody who struggled with anxiety and stuff can understand why you do what you do. But I can empathize with you to go, that motherfucker's got to be going home and having some crazy thoughts about all of this shit. Because there's nothing worse than another human being already setting up a supervisor thing that in the real world, if you need something, do you trust that person will be there for you as a leader? Do you feel like that?
I 100% feel like that. I used to have this saying, there's some leaders I wouldn't follow to fucking Walmart, let alone war.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. Because how can I trust you? I know what you did to violate me. Nobody else does. But
So
now
you never had your best interest at hand. It was more of whatever she saw in you that she didn't like. She was just making sure it would transfer into paperwork so that she could do whatever she wanted to do.
So right now I'm going through a situation with that because that happened in October. November. And it's funny because in that write-up, the last paragraph is, I have faith that you will correct this action and
bullshit,
blah, 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 right?
Generic
Whatever.
bullshit.
November, I got written up again. Long story short, and I'm going to say this in the military term, and then I'll translate it to the civilian term. But the write-up was to involuntarily curtail my orders, which means she decided to fire me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I was going through that. And she gave me 90 days to either be separated from the Air Force or find a home. Long story short, a few months later, found out the EO complaint got substantiated. And what ended up happening was, you would think in my high hopes was, the person that decided to fire me just got called out and found guilty of being discriminating about, towards me.
Should have got him removed from command. That's what should have happened.
But it didn't.
Yeah, I bet it didn't.
And the answer I'm getting from command is, the decision to involuntarily to curtail your orders were already made before the substantiation. That's like fucking telling me that I was found guilty of murdering this guy, but because it was after the fact, I'm innocent.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
So
it's a fucking broken process.
What are you going through with that?
Mentally or physically?
Well, because this is something a lot of people are dealing with in every walk of life. The discrimination. Okay, I have to now do this. Here's my options, which are bullshit. And obviously you use comedy, but that's not all time heal all, right? That's not the only thing you do. How do you go about dealing with this?
The cliche answer is day by day. This motherfucker just wants to talk to me all day. No, but in all seriousness, the administrative side, I just had to pick up and figure out what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to say the name, but Angel, the person that connected us, is a fucking angel.
Yeah, I agree.
She was able to, I met her at the right time in my life, because this is when everything was going on.
Yeah.
And she connected me to, I don't want to talk about the ranks or names or anything.
I gotcha.
But she said, there's opportunities here. Let's get you away from this environment and bring you in this one.
Yeah.
Long story short, I had an interview as a first sergeant yesterday.
Okay.
Oh, solid, bro.
At AGR.
That's so.
And there's opportunities for temp AGRs and ADOS tours, which are active duty.
Yeah.
Hopes. So that's what I'm doing physically. Now let's talk about mental health for a second. Because of what I've been going through with the colonel, I've been seeing mental health. During my transition, there was red flags for my transfer. When I asked why, it was because of mental health.
So you've been going to the base mental health?
I have been.
That's, which, again, this is where a lot of service members feel like they can't speak up, because when they do speak up, situations like yours happen where you want to transfer, but now you have some kind of a flag because, hey, you're going through some mental health issues. It's like, so why the fuck am I speaking up about this shit? Like, am I just supposed to suck it up and just fucking keep going with my life? Like, it's just as if, damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Right, exactly. And like I said, the angel that we're talking about, I don't want to say her name to protect her, but dude, she hustled her ass off for me. She's just amazing.
Yeah.
If not for her, I probably wouldn't be in a more positive space. All right.
It's funny because when she reached out to me about you, it was, so I've known her for a long time. We used to serve together here on my old unit. And I remember her leaving and going down to DC for the job that she has. And I've always thought about her, you know, because like I said, super cool person, like you said. And when she reached out to me and said, hey, I've been listening to the podcast. It's great. I have a buddy of mine, you know, he's a comedian. He's going to do some stuff. He can speak about, I was like, oh, this is one. I was super happy that she's even listening to my podcast. Because again, I used to see her as a mentor back in the day when I was a lawyer enlisted and she was already a tech sergeant. And then again, we have each other on social media, but not much interaction. And then to have that conversation happen, it was just like, wow, this is amazing. This is a person, again, that I used to see as a mentor back in the day, and she moved away. We haven't really kept in contact other than like social media, and to be listening to something that we created, and then to even bring somebody up that could potentially benefit and contribute to our platform was phenomenal, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's great. And I'm really happy to be here. I don't know if I said that before, but you guys are awesome.
Well, we're happy to have you, bro.
No,
I'm going to go off topic for a second. I want to ask you, Angel, when were you stationed there?
I was there from 2010 till 2025. Yeah. 2024.
Okay. So there was, I don't want to say the name, but I want to see if you know it. I had an interaction with a specific chief that was there. Skinny guy. He used to talk like this. I'm so happy everybody's there. I don't know if you know him. But here's a crazy story.
Yeah, he has a cousin that's famous that works for like Rockefeller or something like that, like the record label.
I'm not getting specific, but I want to tell a story. I used to work in New York, the Joyforce headquarters in New York, and I heard about this guy, and I used to speak to him on the phone.
Yeah.
So one day he came to headquarters, and he says, "Hey, Sergeant, how's everything?" And I'm like, "Everything's all right. How are you? You look really tired." He goes, "I am tired." So I said, "Hey, I have some coffee and K cups, in my locker. Feel free to help yourself." So he goes back there, and I don't see what he's doing. I just know he's going through my K cups. And as he's going through everything, I hear, "Ooh, you have a nice Colombian. Oh, you have a Bustelo." Pumpkin spice. That's when I realized this is the Airforce that I joined.
Yes.
Not throwing shade.
No.
I expected it to be more open-minded. And I say that because back to what I was saying about anxiety, PTSD, and depression is like when my ego drops, I feel like it's open-minded for everyone else, but not for me.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about the world.
Yeah, that sucks, man. Yeah, like that sucks. That you can't feel like you can be yourself without being judged. It's fucking horrible.
Exactly. It is. But you know what, man? People like the person we were talking about, Angel, that connected us.
Yeah.
Keep your circle small. And your circle should have a variety of people. One thing I've learned about having mental concerns is that we all have a facade. We all wear a mask.
Oh, yeah.
And those people that come in our lives, open up, man. Male toxicity is a fucking thing, man. I grew up having to have to be fucking tough. So the one that I meet, the people that I know, are the ones that I need to be vulnerable with.
Oh, are you laughing at yourself? Because
no.
Because Angel's probably the least untoxic male I know.
No, I'm.
We both looked at him from Brooklyn.
You have people around you that I've always told you about.
Who have I hung out with? I hung out with you two idiots for the last fucking.
I get it, but you do have other people that we've spoken about.
You know what
we're
it
not
is?
Gonna get into it.
You know what it is? Sometimes I think about like the places that I put myself, right? Like the Marine Corps or the police department or jujitsu or whatever else. And I'm the least alpha male you probably will ever fucking meet. I'm very outgoing. I'm talkative, as you can tell. I will tell you what's on my mind. I wear my emotions, my heart on my sleeve. So for me, like I just accept people into my life, no matter where they are, who they've been, what they're doing. And I'm starting to learn that I can't let people take away my energy because they're fucking assholes. Is what he's saying, essentially. And it took me a while to understand that. I'll be 36 next week. All right, I got God willing, I got way more time, in my life to learn.
Don't think about it that way. My dad passed at 36.
This motherfucker.
Mine made it to 58, bro. So
my dad's still alive, thank God. All I'm saying is this: is that you say keep your circle small. That's a big conversation we've been having lately. Because you know what? Not everybody's there yet. Not everybody's ready to talk about these topics. Not everybody's ready to get vulnerable. Not everybody's willing to get true and how we feel. And he brought up Robin Williams earlier. That's why I always bring him up. I go, if a guy like that can be fucking happy as shit and loving life and being like the most outstanding comedian, and for him to end his life the way he did, or his life end the way it did, was very heartbreaking for me. And I'm not even a comedian. So I'm sure that kind of hits home when you hear about it. Because for me, it's like veterans and first responders are more prone and more probable to
susceptible
to suicide and this and that. And then you hear it from a comedian set. I got to give him some pound. He's been working on his English vocabulary as well.
Just say my English no good looking.
Yeah,
not very good looking. Not very good looking.
So for a comedian to see other comedians going down that path of drug use, alcohol abuse, the marital thing of having 3 million things going on in their love life, divorce, losing people, grieving, and then having to go up and be all happy and giddy and then get off that stage and go home and be by yourself. I wouldn't want to be by myself. You see these comedians, they got like 15 different girlfriends, wives, drugs, alcohols, cars, money. It's not going to ever be good enough. Why? Because you learn about the mental health topic, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all these things we need. And once you're up there fucking laughing and people are all eyes on you and you're laughing and joking, you feel like a superstar. And then you got to go home and look at yourself in the mirror and go, that's not who I really am. I can imagine that takes a toll, and that's what happened to me. I'm over here fucking laughing, joking, high-fiving everybody. But yeah, I lost both my legs to a bomb in Afghanistan in 2011. I've had thing after thing after thing, and I'm like, no, life's good. I was at that. I would tell you tomorrow's gonna be better. That was me. And now I'm like, fuck, like life is tough, man. And when we get vulnerable with our loved ones, with our friends, with our small circle, those people will have your back, So yeah. I hope you at least know you got 3 new brothers. We're always willing to listen. We're always willing to fucking bullshit. Hell, we'll drive down to DC, fucking come watch you, tell some jokes. I'm all about it. I got a bunch of friends down there.
I got a show coming up the end of this month. Well, 2 actually. One's in Gotham. The other one's in Green Room. I'm supposed to be going to Toronto to perform in April. And here's the joke with that. The club owner said, hey, come the weekend of this, because the Yankees and the Blue Jays are playing.
That's so.
Right?
Yeah.
He wasn't lying, because the Yankees and Blue Jays are playing. They're just playing in fucking New York.
That's pretty funny.
But back to what you were saying, brother. Like, I was having a conversation the other day with my father. And I was telling him, man, it's a lot. Like, I'm going through divorce. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm away from my kids. I'm losing my life. I'm losing my home, my ability to see my kids whenever I want. Also, I'm being fired from a position where my boss was racist towards me. Let's just simplify the term.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what's going to happen in my future. I have 2 years to retire active duty, and this shit fucking happened. And
don't you hit Sanctuary at 18?
What's that?
You hit Sanctuary at 18, don't you?
They're doing it the exact day before I hit Sanctuary.
Whoa. They're really trying to fuck with you.
So now, with that being said, my father says, I went to work the other day and I was looking for somebody and I asked, hey, where did X, Y, and Z go? And somebody told them, he had a heart attack. He died. He was 32 years old. And he was like, can you imagine that? He goes, things could be worse. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Sounds pretty good for me. But these are the thoughts that go through your mind when you have depression, anxiety, and you're going through what I'm going through.
True.
But to overcome it, man, that's a strength, dude. I got to just go in the back pocket, pull out my gangster card, dude. And something you just said, you were like, you have 3 brothers. And there's nothing better than that because that old school mentality is gone. That connection of military members that are like, dude, I'm here for you.
Mm-hmm.
We relate. Because I feel like the newer generation's coming in for themselves.
Now, I know we got to finish this up because time, but I'll leave you with this. You mentioned that lady, right? The tomorrow will be better. I think we all need that lady in our back pocket rather than the gangster card, right? We need to have a little bit of confidence in ourselves that our happy days are right around the corner. So I'm not saying it from a place of positivity. I'm saying it from a place of truth. And I've dragged my fucking body, my mangled body through the dirt with that mentality. Literally. Because you know what? It's easy to go, 32 with a heart attack don't sound so bad. Yeah, fuck yeah. I've had those thoughts where you're like, shit, my life sucks. I mean, that wouldn't be so bad. Where's that fucking bus at? It's the thoughts that come up and they don't bother you because you're like, that's not real. Those thoughts aren't real. I love my life. I love my family. Right now it's fucking tough. When you stop fearing those thoughts, Angel and Chris fucking helped me get off that platform, of like fearing my thoughts all the time. When they said thoughts are just thoughts, you only fucking give those things fuel because you love what you're feeling, right? Your life, your family, your job, you loved all those things. And now you're grieving the loss of the life you had before with the military, with your family, with your kids. I can tell you right now, it gets better, man. It's tough. It's tough leaving your home and not being with your loved one and watching your children go up without you 100% of the time. But guess what? They fucking grow up too. So they need to see how you react to the situation. So God forbid they go through that shit. They know daddy made it through. We're going to be okay. Everything's going to be good. That's what I've tried to learn, So we appreciate you, bro. We appreciate you coming on because, hey, that's true. That's the reality you face every day. That's the reality a lot of people face every day. So, thank you so much for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. It means a lot what you guys do. Nobody's cooler than you. I'll take a bullet for all 3 of you motherfuckers.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jeffrey, man.
Good having you on, brother. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you. And I'll send you my number on the side so we can stay in touch.
Yep.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah,
Be safe,
bro. You too, bro.